love when you learn about, like, further history, because I think there's a lot of parallels that we have refused to learn.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we have not had it beaten into our heads that religious intolerance leads to, like, really bad things happening.
Yeah.
Like, we keep having these things, oh, those witch trials? That's insane. Or that's unhinged. I'm like, okay, but you guys are doing, like, modern witch trials. You guys are weird. Like, what do you can't sit there and say the people who were burning witches were weird, and you are doing the same thing. Like, it's
Oh, my
odd.
quickie!
Quakey.
My quick.
What
Can
is
I
his
can I can I
name?
push him? I
Don't push him, that's not nice.
I can. Why does the game let me do
Stop.
that?
What's his name?
What's your name? His name is just Heart.
No, go into your settings. Go down.
Animals. Doodale. Doodael. Doodael.
What's Dudael?
Doodael. Interesting. Did not think about having a cat named Doodael. Oh, what the? Why are you inside? What the?
Leave him alone. You're such a weird. Leave him
How
alone.
did he do that? I have a teleporting cat named Doodael.
He just wants to sleep. Oh my god.
He just wants to sleep. I think it was. Oh, it is. First of all, I have so many trees I could plant. Let's see. Yeah, it's so interesting. I know this week I will be, this coming up week from when we're recording, I will actually be reading, of course, what I call statecraft. Now, obviously, it is going to be more commonly known as political science, or like societal engineering. I really like learning about history, but also sociology, and, of course, the sort of aspects and structures of the nation and, of course, government. And I sort of have this latent curiosity for political science and virology, and it's really cool actually. There's a lot of free information on the internet if you're into this stuff. For statecraft, that's totally a given. And it's interesting. There's a ton of professors from the goodness of their heart where they have uploaded like slides up onto the internet that are accessible. I know and he's like a public figure. I'm sure he wouldn't mind me name dropping him. There's a public figure out there named Vincent Rocchignello, and he's really into virology, and he has his slides and like a class curriculum uploaded to like a public like Google Drive file area. And I, of course, went and checked it out, and it's legit. Like, it's this, like, really awesome way to learn about, of course, if anyone's interested, virology. I have 23 blackberries. That's cool. And it's really neat because I'm looking at the 2021 presentations and the slides for the 2021 course. He also has videos uploaded to his YouTube channel as well. And he's been in a number of podcasts. Vincent Roccanello was in an episode of The Lex Friedman Show, and that was really insightful to see. Just, seeing like a guy taken out of the academic setting a little bit and holding this conversation with a sort of podcast host like Vincent Roccanello. Although they're both two pretty erudite guys, so it's cozy. It's cozy white dudes, am I right? Intellectualizing about society. No, it's a pretty cool place. But yeah, so check out Vincent Roccanello Virology. He's got YouTube videos, and he also has, of course, a course in his video descriptions. So it's great. Then with statecraft. Oh, what can be said? There's a number of things about statecraft. There is... Right now, I'm reading, like, PDFs of, like, books on, like, Google Library. Like Google PDFs have, like, previews of books where you can read PDFs of books where it's, like, about, like, a half or a third of the book. Although some of them do have the full book, especially if they're, like, older. like kind of more in the public domain. Obviously, if a book's trying to have just a preview, it means that it's probably newer and trying to just, show the preview, so you'll buy the real book. Right now I'm looking at a ton of these like old books that are now on like Google Books for like free. There's one right now I'm reading, and it's actually very interesting. So I was originally double teaming. I was sort of double fisting The End of History and the Last Man by Francis Fukuyama and Leviathan by Thomas Hobbes. Leviathan by Thomas Hobbes, like, it's really fascinating once you just kind of just like dare yourself to open it and take a crack at it, because I think, and look, I haven't gotten to the end of the book. I haven't read all of it. I don't know if it gets weird. I'm sure it does. It's a book from the 1500s, written by like an English dude, so I'm sure it gets weird. But like, the thing is it starts off weirdly, like, with such goodwill for the reader, and of trying to sort of just teach things about how dreams work. So I don't know if you remember this, Smells Noodle, but when I was coming through high school, and I had a history class like my sophomore or junior year, and this, keep in mind, I haven't been in high school for about 10 years. The thing is, I remember being taught that we had to learn about a lot of Enlightenment philosophers, such as Jean-Jacques Rousseau, Thomas Hobbes, and John Locke. And I remember them saying, in kind of this simplified way, and it was of course kind of sort of simplified even for the times, that John Locke and Jean-Jacques Rousseau thought that human nature was good and that people were inherently good, and Thomas Hobbes thought that people were inherently evil, or that human nature was evil or something. And it's so bizarre because I'm reading Thomas Hobbes, and he's not really saying anything like that. Like, he's just sort of saying, in fact, there's a passage where he says, nature is beautiful and can do no wrong because nature inherently just is, and so it cannot err. Man can err, but only insofar as obviously man tries to not sort of be like nature. And I'm like, wait, this sounds weirdly like a Zen Buddhist line out of like Alan Watts or something. This does not sound like a dude that was sort of wound up tight and like aggressive as I was told about him in high school. The beginning of the book, he also talks about memory and dreams a lot. The beginning of Leviathan talks about memory and dreams and what he calls fancy. And it's so interesting to me because to talk about memory and dreams, of course, is very Jungian. It's very Carl Jung and Sigmund Freud, because it's, of course, psychoanalytical. So I'm like, what the heck? Like, there's like this precursor to Sigmund Freud and Carl Jung found in basically Thomas Hobbes' Leviathan in such a way that is not at all really that provocative as one might have expected from being told, like, this is the guy that thinks humans are inherently evil. So it's an interesting surprise. It's a really interesting book to actually read sort of the beginning a little bit of Thomas Hobbes' Leviathan. I've been, like, surprised. I'm wondering, I'm like, maybe he sort of lured me in. Maybe he's lulled me into a nice false sense of security. I'm also reading, like I said, I was also reading The End of History and the Last Man by Francis Fukuyama. The sort of thesis and theme with this is basically, and this is going to be even a little bit more to explain, just to try to get people on the same page here. The idea behind The End of History and the Last Man is not necessarily the sort of end of the world or apocalypse or something like that, but about how the ways in which we feel as though that we are a part of history, of this continuum of, these different types of societies, the rise and fall of empires, a lot of these sorts of things. This idea that we have, what I would say is at times called translatio imperii, which is the idea of, we came from Mesopotamia, and Mesopotamia led to the Romans, and the Romans led to the Germans and the French and the English led to the Americas. That sort of idea of the history, or sort of, the idea of progress or God, is